Franklin, we see a long line, a couple of star-like things, and a lot of things swimming in the foreground. Can you describe what you're seeing?
Well, the long line is a tether, and there's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us, and it's illuminated by the sun at such low angle, so there's a lot of stray light, and it's getting washed out quickly, but Claude is trying to do a quick, good job here adjusting the cameras.
Copy that.
Again, that description by the crew, this is the tether in the satellite with approximately 12 miles of tether still attached to it. Columbia and the satellite now just passing over the west coast of northern Africa.
This is a 1996 NASA shuttle mission, STS-75, and the line on your screen is a tether that broke off of the shuttle as they were trying to deploy a satellite, and they were kind of doing an experiment. It broke off, and it's about 90 miles from the camera, or 100 miles from the camera right now, and it's about 12 miles long, and there's these things flying all around it, and they're all flying behind it, it appears. But I want to point out the similarity of these objects. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth, till the day of their judgment and of their consummation, till the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated. In those days they shall be led off to the abyss of fire, and to the torment and the prison in which they shall be confined forever. This is in chapter 18 of Enoch, and this is starting in verse 9, at the end of verse 9. And I saw a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains is a region, the end of the great earth where the heavens were completed. And I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure, alike towards the height and towards the depth. And beyond that abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and horrible place. I saw there 7 stars, like great burning mountains. And to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven." And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And he was wroth with them, and bound them till the time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years. Chapter 19 in Enoch. And Uriel said to me, "Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made an end of." Here, see that? Now he's going up. Now he's going to turn around and go back towards the tether. See that? I want to point out that these are evil spirits. And this is rare to find this kind of footage because I don't think they put it out. I think they purposely wouldn't put something like this out. This is something that happened for the first time, I think, in this footage that we're watching, and they hadn't seen this before. And they were actually kind of asking questions back and forth in the communications to each other. You know, what are we seeing? And, you know, we're seeing a bunch of things swimming in the foreground, and they didn't know what these things were. So what I am learning here is they're entering into like the first heaven, the lowest heaven, because it's become a prison for fallen angels. And so these planets have seduced us to want to go to them by making themselves look like terrestrial places, although they're in a celestial place. So there's no air, no water, no anything. Obviously no planets. Those are lights. And actually Enoch talks about that. But these things are going to be entering into our world thanks to SpaceX and NASA and Roscosmos and JAXA and any of these agencies that have been reaching orbital velocity, I'll say, and leaving the Earth because they don't understand what they're doing. And that's why they don't put footage out like this, because I'm sure they purposefully don't stick the camera out the window at this happens when they're going from darkness to daylight, or daylight to darkness, in orbit, in quotation marks. Okay, so this is 96 footage. I want to show you some footage from the ground just last year. Let's add these two things together and you tell me how comfortable you are with this. This is footage. The one on the right, the small box, is footage of a SpaceX launch from the ground. You add these two things together and tell me what you think. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
We had the camera Bravo constantly on the tether. Unfortunately, we don't see the tip of the boom, but in a few seconds you'll see the tether break. And this one, of course, was not attended, it just recorded. It could not be bumped either, so it will record steadily the whole break and coil back to the tether.
Copy, Claude.
We go.
Again, this is a view of the satellite.
Well, if it had to break, it did it in the right place.
So,
Commander Andy Allen reported earlier that the tether apparently broke inside the boom in Columbia's cargo bay, with only about 10 meters of tether left attached in the cargo bay.
I'm linking from camera A to you.
Columbia and the satellite now 77 nautical miles apart. Again, that call reporting that the crew can see the tether and see the satellite. Just beautiful. This view showing the satellite. Again, just moving into sunrise. 81 nautical miles now from Columbia.
Guys getting the image?
Franklin, we see a long line, a couple of star-like things, and a lot of things swimming in the foreground. Can you describe what you're seeing?
Well, the long line is a tether, and there's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us, and it's illuminated by the sun at such low angle. So there's a lot of stray light, and it's getting washed out quickly, but Claude is trying to do a quick, good job here adjusting the cameras.
Copy that.
You know, that description by the crew, this is the tether in the satellite. The satellite with approximately 12 miles of tether still attached to it. Columbia and the satellite are now just passing over the west coast of northern Africa. The two spacecraft are now 90 nautical miles apart. Controllers for the satellite did have communications with it during the close pass between Columbia and the satellite.
Columbia, Houston, that's a much better view, a lot more contrast visible. And how wide does that tether appear to be? It seems to resemble a much wider strand than we'd expect. Can you describe which way the satellite is visible on that strand?
Satellite now 100 nautical miles.
You're completely unzoomed, and you see the full extent of the tether. I try to adjust the focus, but I can't get better than that.
Okay, Claude. Thank you.
I'm going to zoom in now.
Satellite in Columbia now almost 100 nautical miles apart. Controllers here remain in communications with the satellite. They've been in communications with it now via the payload interrogator on board Columbia, using Columbia as a communications relay station for telemetry from the satellite. They've been in communications for about 47 minutes, receiving a very solid lock of communications with it. Those communications now starting to get some interference, however, again, the two passed within 46 nautical miles of one another. The crew first saw the satellite when it was 150 nautical miles distant. During the past sunrise. During this sunrise, this view shows the satellite again here in the center of the screen with 12 nautical miles of tether connected to it. At present, the two now are 108 nautical miles apart. Columbia now ahead of the satellite. Continue to separate from it at a rate of 335 nautical miles per orbit.
And we can still see it on our monitor as a very faint straight line, becoming smaller and smaller and fainter.
We still see it with you. It's remarkably straight. Thank you, Claude. Range 113.
Seen any downlink?
We have the downlink and we have the tether.
In the upper left-hand corner there, straight as an arrow. So it seems from here.
Yes, sir, we have it. Great picture.
It came and went pretty quick, but that was about as much as we have of it.
Great effort, thanks. We'll be handing over here in about 45 seconds.
Houston, Daniel on the satellite trailing behind us. We're trying to point to one of the CCTV cameras.
And thanks, Claude. We got the downlink and we're looking. Okay, Claude, we see it now.
Okay. It has a straight segment on the same radius of the whole length of the segment. Right now we don't really see the satellite itself, just a straight segment to the side. see the satellite now. It's like a bright spot at the end of the tether, and on the other end, the low end, there's also a relatively bright spot, which is maybe an accumulation of the tether. And we are downlinking camera Delta now.
Okay, we copied and understand as you're viewing it on the monitor, the satellite is at the top of the tether.
That's correct. Well, let me take this back. Venus is above the tether, so the satellite is on the same side as Venus. So it's on the monitor, looking at the monitor now, it's on the lower side of the tether on the monitor.
And thanks, Claude, we copy.
Do you see camera Delta?
Affirmative.
Okay.
Yeah, we just selected it, Franklin, and we see the satellite.
Okay, great.
Columbia Houston, FIDO's showing the satellite to be 719 miles away from Columbia.
Well, that's pretty amazing, and we were wondering if we were going to be able to see it at 20 kilometers.
Well, that is an excellent data point. I guess in the cosmic scheme of things, though, even 719 miles is right next door.
border between Central and South America, and then track across the lower Caribbean before making a swing across the Atlantic Ocean and a tour across northwestern, central, and southeastern portions of